Hello, everyone. So today we're going to discuss Stephen Fry, a comedian, writer, and humanitarian. So over the past century, Britain has given to the world many comedic treasures. We had Charlie Chaplin during the age of silent film, the writings of various authors such as P.G. Wodehouse and Douglas Adams, BBC shows that included Monty Python's Flying Circus and Absolutely Fabulous, and comedians Ricky Gervais, Eddie Izzard, and Craig Ferguson, to name a few. However, the focus of this exploration of British comedy is a man who is a comedian, prolific writer, lover of language, movie star, director, commentator, and humanitarian, the irreplaceable Stephen Fry. To begin, a brief examination of his biography is in order. He was born in London, England on August 24, 1957. At the young age of 7, Fry was sent to boarding school. He would spend the majority of his childhood in and out of various schools where he displayed marked intelligence. Yet even as a young child, Fry quickly gained a reputation for being a troublemaker. Fry comments upon this, as well as his addiction to sweets, in each of his 3 autobiographies. This reputation for troublemaking continued into his teenage years, where his pranks and shenanigans necessitated his expulsion from school. This expulsion was followed by Fry being arrested on charges of credit card fraud at the age of 17. In his last autobiography, More Fool Me, Fry comments, "Our hero, after multiple scholastic expulsions, after an adolescence steeped in folly, misery, heart-shredding mooncalf romance, and a short lifetime of wayward self-delusion and multiple crookedness, a sly, cocky, guileful, and self-fantasizing fool, found himself in prison for credit card fraud, and still a teenager, on the brink of a life of permanent failure, incarceration, familial exile, and squalid ignominy." However, history shows that this was not the case for Fry, as he went on to have a flourishing career. He eventually was accepted into Cambridge, where after his first year he wrote his first play, Latin, or Tobacco and Boys. It was while at Cambridge that Fry met Hugh Laurie, resulting in a lifelong friendship and collaboration that spurred both careers. It was in 1984 that Fry dipped his toe into the success pool with his revision of Noel Gay's musical, Me and My Girl. This opened the door for Fry into celebrity, and the 80s saw him writing and performing in a little show called Blackadder. This show still sees play on platforms such as Amazon Prime today. It also starred fellow comedians Rowan Atkinson and Hugh Laurie. The show was characterized by its use of witty one-liners and puns, the not-so-subtle jokes at the expense of the aristocratic class of history, and its use of convenient or inconvenient coincidences that ultimately resulted in the misfortune of the title character, played by Rowan Atkinson. Each series had a new plot and a new time period, ranging from the time of Richard III to the Elizabethan age to the rule of King George, and ending with the First World War. In between writing articles for various publishers and radio plays during the 90s, Fry and Laurie began a series called Jeeves and Wooster, the adaptation of P.G. Wodehouse novels. Fry played Jeeves, bringing to the role his by now signature wit and wordplay, while Laurie played Wooster. The series was not merely a paycheck or gig for Fry. He has a love of Wodehouse's works, even going so far as to write a serious article over the author and his novels. Again, like Blackadder, the series was not shy in commenting upon the absurdity of the upper class and their lifestyles, and often used coincidence to tie up the plot in each episode. However, Fry did not confine himself only to comedy. In 1997, Fry took on the role of Oscar Wilde in the film Wilde. This film explored Wilde's rise to success, his love affair with Lord Alfred Douglas, and his fall from grace as Douglas's father slandered him and Wilde took him to court. Wilde lost the court case and was sentenced to prison for 2 years of hard labor. Fry played the role superbly, bringing to the character's use of language and a certain stoicism when faced with incredible difficulty. This film showed a side to Fry's acting ability that could not be displayed in his comedy. In 2003, Fry made the move from in front of the camera to behind the scenes as director of a film adaptation of Evelyn Waugh's novel, Vile Bodies. The film was titled Bright Young Things. This was truly a labor of love for Fry, and it showed in his treatment of the material. Bright Young Things captured the manic quality of the 1920s with his choice of music, color palettes, and lighting. Fry did not confine himself only to the screen. He is a prolific writer, having written 3 autobiographies, innumerable articles, and several novels. In More Fool Me, Fry admits to his second novel, The Hippopotamus, as being his favorite. This novel touches upon themes of religion, family ties, aging careers, and insecurity. is told mostly through the voice of Ted Wallace, an embittered poet that has lost his poetry. Fry puts to use his ability to make commentary with frankness of the topic. For example, Ted Wallace remarks, "Looked up at the huge East Anglican sky, innocent of clouds and blue as, my poetic powers have been sucked clean of simile. I can't think what it was as blue as blue as blue the Virgin's panties, as blue as it was." Wallace has lost his ability to think as a poet, and in true Fry fashion, he acknowledges this shortcoming with a frankness that is comedic in its openness. Fry also does not hold back in his novel of any taboo subjects, including a scene of bestiality, underage sex, and homosexual acts with a minor. While Fry does not go into detail with any of these subjects, he still brings them into the discussion in a surprisingly tactful and funny way. Fiction is not the only area of discussion for Fry. He has a love of Greek myth, which has led him to write at least 3 novels on the subject. Mythos was the first of these, and in this work, Fry retells familiar Greek myths in his own unique style. Ares, Mars to the Romans, was unintelligent, of course, monumentally dense, and unimaginative, for as everyone knows, war is stupid. In Mythos, Fry takes the Greek pantheon and explains them in a human way, giving to them personality associated with their symbols, even if these are unflattering. Throughout the novel, Fry also includes footnotes. However, these footnotes are not of the academic variety, but are rather personal observations of the material, usually worded in a comedic way. Fry has made Greek myths accessible to a wider audience that may not have had an opportunity for classical education, and revives them for the 21st century, breathing into these ancient stories a new life and relevancy. As mentioned, Fry also wrote 3 autobiographies, his latest being the 2014 Mortal Me. This autobiography does not focus on his childhood or early career as such, but rather focuses on his relationships with others in his life. Fry has always been open about his homosexuality, and he discusses this aspect of his life in relation to the AIDS epidemic of the 1980s. He was affected by the illness and death of many friends during this time, which pushed him toward his charity works. Fry opens up about his cocaine addiction in this book. He does not try to glamorize his use or excuse his addiction, but does point out that it is a lifetime battle. Fry states, "It's rather like nuclear weaponry. You can never say it's safe, because it's only been safe up until now. It needs to be safe for all time. One moment of not being safe, and the whole game is up." His account of addiction, coupled with his battle of bipolarism, is compelling. However, Fry was not all too serious in other aspects of his book, as displayed in the account of a day filming a documentary in the US. 5 minutes later, just in time for the camera to catch my humiliation, the walking horse freaked out at the horror of having me astride it, or possibly, like every fucking horse ever fucking born, became utterly spooked by the astounding existence of such wholly unexpected and terrifying phenomena as wind, trees, sky, a bird gliding in the distance, a chicken, a hedge, a leaf whirling in the wind, a butterfly, you name it, and galloped off, bursting through the corral fence, while I screamed and juddered in the saddle, incompetently trying to operate the brakes. Fry's full display of his love of language comes out in this passage and is indicative of his use of self-depreciating humor that is used to such great effect in his comedic career. Lastly, we must touch upon Stephen Fry's charitable works. Fry champions numerous charities and is actively involved in discussion of pressing issues such as mental health, child abuse, addiction, etc. Many issues Fry shines light upon are issues that have affected him personally, such as the issue of mental health. Fry has been diagnosed with bipolarism and even had a suicide attempt in 2012. He had had addiction issues with cocaine and experienced the horrible ravages of AIDS in the gay community of the 80s. Fry uses his celebrity to be a beacon for charitable pursuits to help to combat these tough issues. Britain has been responsible for producing some major figures in the 20th and 21st centuries for comedy. It can be argued, and rightly so, that British comedy has impacted American comedy in massive ways. Due to individuals such as Stephen Fry, the culture of Britain has been impacted in positive ways, as indicated by the numerous awards Fry has won, one of which being the British Comedy Academy Lifetime Achievement Award. Stephen Fry, comedian, writer, philanthropist, will leave the world a better place than when he arrived, as concerns pop culture and humanitarian efforts. And for that, we owe this talented man gratitude.